Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my new podcast, The Mind of a Clueless Girl. Now, if you stumbled across the link to this, which would probably either be on my TikTok or my Instagram or something, then you probably have realized that this is a mental health podcast. And yeah, this is the first episode, and it's something I've wanted to do for a while. And I thought, why not try it out during lockdown? Because, I mean, when is a better time to do it than when I am stuck at home? Well, we're all stuck at home, really, not really doing much else. I'm using this time to be as creative as possible, and this is one of those things that I've had to do on my list for a long time. And yeah, so here we go. Um, Basically, what I wanted to do with this podcast, this is going to be like a kind of little bit of an intro more than actually like talking about too much, but I wanted to use it as a platform to discuss mental health and speak about my experiences of mental health and how I've dealt with them, things that like therapists have taught me, things that I've just learned that helped me personally along the way. And talk about experiences I've had with it, things that like I've gone through, just as a sense of like, I'm hoping that even if it just helps one individual, that would be incredible to me, to like help them feel better about themselves, help them realize that they're not alone, help them through it really. And I'm not saying I'm an expert, I'm by no means an expert, so please don't take this as like solid medical advice, because if you do struggle with mental health, my first piece of advice would be to potentially go and see a therapist or a doctor and discuss it and get the proper help that you need rather than bottling it up, because that is vital, in my opinion, to moving forward. And yes, a lot of it can be done by yourself. Like, you can do it yourself, you can find ways of getting better yourself, because I want to also promote that you are strong and you are capable of doing these things. But at the same time, it is so important to get the help needed when you realize that, like, you really do need it. I really realized that. I just made no sense. But basically, what I'm trying to say is if you need help or you feel you need the help, then go and get it, because that will honestly help so much. And I'll speak about that more in future episodes when I dive in more to like my experiences and exactly what I went through and how I got through it and exactly what I'm still going through. It's going to be kind of hard at times because I'm very open about it, but I've never obviously put it out there on the internet or anything. So, we'll see how it goes. But I think it's important that mental health is talked about. And I really, like I said, this may help no one. This may help one person, but helping one person would mean the entire world to me. And that goes back to another reason why I started this, because I think when I was a teenager, when I was going through this, really, really going through this at like 12, is when my mental health really started to affect me. I mean, maybe there were outlets, maybe there were mental health podcasts, maybe there were a bunch of things that could have helped me through it, but I didn't personally come across them. And I felt very alone. I felt very weird and unusual, and that people would judge me, which realistically they probably wouldn't. And I think a lot of the time when you have mental health issues or mental health illnesses, you kind of put a stereotype on yourself when actually the people around you probably would not think much of it. But it's easy to do. I personally think, like, I still to this day sometimes get a bit like, oh, hesitant about speaking about it, but at the end of the day, it's important that we do. And I wish I had the YouTubers that I watch now and watched when I was like 16, 17, or the podcasts that maybe I listen to now, or anything like social media the way it is now, talking about mental health when I was going through my absolute worst of it, because I think I would have felt more connected, more normal. And I have to say, I'm so grateful that I had the family that I did, because they were so supportive and so helpful. And a lot of people don't even have that. And I think so, if I can help at least one person, like I said, that would mean the world, because I want to be the kind of platform, and I want this to be the kind of place where people might leave and go, you know what, I can do this, or you know what, I'm not alone. Like I feel when I've sometimes watched YouTube videos or listened to other podcasts, like I said. So for me, this is what I want this to kind of be. So I hope to at least a few people, this can be that kind of place. But yeah, so let's get to it, I guess. So, from my personal experience, I have struggled with mental health, like I said, since I was about 11. And how it all started was with OCD. I was diagnosed with severe OCD when I was about 11. I didn't even know what it was. I was just feeling compelled to do all these things, and it honestly controlled my life. And I literally thought if I didn't do these things, something bad would really happen, and something I was terrified of happening. And again, I'll discuss it further in a later episode. But right now, I'm just kind of giving a quick synopsis, I guess, of my mental health life. And yeah, it was really, really bad. And I didn't even realize what was going on. And my mum turned around to me one day and was like, Selene, you have OCD. And I was like, 11-year-old, bearing in mind, not really sure what mental health was or mental health illnesses or disorders were. And I was like, what on earth is that? What is OCD? I just knew I felt like shit and I was going through something I'd never gone through before and I just had no control over. And my mum actually told me later on that she knew I'd always had it, but obviously being younger, I had never been aware of it. So she took me to get help and honestly haven't looked back and it helped me so much. But I did feel very isolated. I did feel very strange. And at the start, when it was so bad, I couldn't really hide it. I kind of was a bit of a loner at school just because, I didn't want people to know I had it. Um, but then with time, I opened up about it more and I accepted more and I got so much better. And I still have it to this day because at the end of the day, I personally think OCD is a disorder and I think it will always be with me. And when I get stressed, it gets worse. But it's never going to be like what it was, but it does go in waves. Like sometimes I'm absolutely fine, and it's little things, and sometimes it does hit me quite hard, especially when I'm stressed. And personally, I find in isolation, it has got quite a lot worse because I'm in my head a lot of the time. And that's another reason why I thought this would be a good time to start this podcast because I feel like a lot of people's mental health will be struggling during this quarantine period. And as well as OCD, I also, over the past few years, started getting quite bad anxiety. Again, that's got so much better, but I went through a year where it was really bad and I've never experienced anything like it. And again, I'm happy to go through that in more depth. And now my OCD is more centered towards health anxiety, so that kind of all links together. And I know I'm making myself sound like I've got everything going on, but like I'm fine. It's just things I go through and have gone through, and um, I want to talk about the experiences I have gone through and how I got through them and things that I'm feeling right now, like insecurities, everything, just because I feel like it's so important to share how people feel and help people realize that, like I said, one, they're not alone, and two, that it does get better and there are ways to improve. And I think that's going to be my first episode. So I hope you enjoyed. I know this seemed a bit like I was waffling on, but I just, like I said, wanted to introduce what this was going to be. And yeah, so I really hope this will help some people. And if this sounds like something you want to continue listening to, then I look forward to seeing you next week when I do the next episode. And I plan on going into a bit more depth about my OCD and everything. And then, yeah, take it from there. And I again want to just disclose that, like I said, this is not me saying I know everything. I'm not a mental health expert. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I just want to help people based on my own experiences with mental health. And as much as I'm hoping this will help people, I guess it's kind of an outlet for me as well. And yeah, so like I said, I really hope you enjoy it and it helps you. And I'll see you guys next week for the next podcast.